Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Patience Rose, and we're here live today with Co-working Live with Red Worldwide, and we're so excited that you are here with us. And we just want to give another shout out to Lex Vision Studios, who is always here assisting us and making sure that our progression of excellence is on its trajectory that it needs to be on, and we are getting better at doing our podcasts, and the podcasts are now becoming available in a lot more places, and we're very excited about that. What we're going to do today, because today is a day that we actually talk about business legacy, and we're going to talk about shared economies and collaborations, and how building a business that is a legacy business can actually take advantage of some of the ways that we can collaborate, cooperate with each other, and make sure that we have access to more tools to offer our clients and customers so that we can serve them better. And so this is a really good episode today, I believe, because there are many, many times where people they just don't know what is available and what they can benefit by, partnering together or coming together and collaborating. And so we're going to jump right in today and just really dive in here and talk about the shared economy model and what that can do for your business. Next slide, please. So, where did shared economies come from, and what are they? Well, shared economies are really an idea that's a very age-old idea. We call it shared economies now, but it is rooted and grounded in the concept of commonwealth. And some of you might have heard that particular terminology. My husband has written several books on commonwealth and how it works. And I've done a lot of research in this area. And what I will tell you is that there is something to be said about people who are able to come into the mindset of sharing and giving. And in our faith tradition, we talk a lot about being able to hold all things in common. But in a business, I believe that when people in industries are able to recognize what they do best, they can come into the agreement with other businesses that might even be competitors and share resources between them to serve more people. I've seen people also, come into a collaboration with people who are in, I wouldn't say businesses that are competing with them, but they're in businesses that are doing similar things, but may not be doing all of the things that you're doing. And so you can offer each other's clients certain services that would help both companies actually gain more work. And so I know that that's kind of a different way of seeing things. But yesterday we were talking with one of the Red members, and we talked about how, because he's now amassed a certain amount of clientele, he has access to more resources. And there are smaller companies that need some of the services that he could offer. And so we talked about how he could become the big brother, okay, of his industry. And by providing some of those services to his competitors, it makes their services more well-rounded, and it gives their community of customers and clients the ability to have better services. And so when we're looking at a shared economy, what is it based on? Well, I have a statement here, and I say that shared economies are based on the idea of sharing resources and assets. It involves businesses and individuals collaborating to optimize the use of resources. And I think that optimization is something we don't talk a lot about in business. We talk about maximizing, but we don't necessarily talk about optimizing. And so when we're thinking about optimizing, maximizing is using what you have to the nth degree. I mean, making it do as much as it possibly can do. Optimizing is using more of what you have in a smarter way, okay, in a better way. So when we're looking at sharing resources, there are many examples of this. And so let's look at some examples. Well, we have the co-working spaces. That was a huge um, uh, introduction or rework of an old design, if I can say it that way, because I've lived enough years to know that co-working is not a new thing. Having co-working spaces, that's not a new thing. We just called it something different. But it's innovative. And so the innovative concepts that, people have been able to bring out with co-working spaces or shared office spaces has really created the ability for people to waste less space. Now, let me just give you an idea, of what that looks like for a company. And I shared this a few weeks ago about, Southern California Edison, how they made a decision that they weren't going to build any more buildings. And so I remember having a conversation with their architect who designed all of their businesses all over the state of California. And one of the things that he was saying is that they found that it made more sense for them to not spend money on buildings anymore. And they sent a lot of their staff members to work from home. And that was way before the pandemic. We're talking about 10, no, it was more than that. It was probably about 15 years before the pandemic. They started sending people to work from home with a computer and a couple of monitors and, God bless you and let's make this work, okay? And so less people were working in office, but they were more efficient. They were able to utilize their budgets better. It just made a big difference in how their company ran. And so when we're looking at things from that perspective and understanding that there are things that you can do as a company that really will cause you to, use your funds more efficiently by sharing resources with maybe other companies or, other for that matter, other industries. One of the things that I had the opportunity to do in the life of our business is I had the opportunity to work out of a WeWork. And I remember the takeaways. I wasn't there very long. We got a 6-month opportunity where we were able to be there for free for 6 months. And then we actually went into a lease with another company that we had at that time for 6 more months. And so during that time frame, I learned a lot. I learned an awful lot about the shared economy concept, which is where some of this presentation comes from. Shared economies allow for efficient resource utilization. We wasted so little by being in that space because we had access to everything that we need for a lot less money. And so when I'm thinking about how much we would have had to pay to have our own building, to have our own conference room, to have, a kitchen inside the building, to have access to, the other kinds of networking opportunities that were there. We had a very large networking room on one floor. On the other floor, we had an extremely large open area where we were able to do some filming. We were able to film some podcasts. And at that time, we weren't calling them podcasts, but that's what they became. And we had, a lot that we were able to gain from being in that space. We learned a lot. And then we went to another shared office space that wasn't really a co-working space, but it was more of, several different companies who had long-term contracts with the ability to also have cubicles and hot desks and things of that nature, which are very much like co-working, but their model was very different in terms of what we were able to get, for being in that shared office space. And we were there with companies that actually downsized and didn't have a building anymore, and they moved their entire company into that space. And so we also saw, some of the most amazing, I thought some of the most amazing network opportunities because we began having focus groups. And so we used the conference rooms very differently than what they were designed for. We did some training sessions there. We did a little filming there. And we've noticed that other people have made some very amazing choices for their business. One of the people that works out of that space, and I'm just really excited to see what this company did. He was hired, and he's no longer at this space now at this particular location, but he was hired to open up a whole market for his company. His company was international, and he was hired to open up the US market. And he basically went in, and for I don't know, what he was paying for the one office, but he had the one office, and then of course he had the cubicles. So he hired in his people that supported his position, and they worked out of some private offices, and then he worked in a very open space, which was right kind of outside of our office. That was more like cubicles. And when he talked about how he was given a budget and what that budget was for an office space, and what he was able to do with the extra money. He didn't necessarily say how much he was getting the spaces that he had for, but I do know that it was not very much money in comparison to him actually going and renting, out of space himself, where he was the proprietor out of that space. By him being in the shared office, he was able to bring the cost down quite a bit. And we actually are seeing this with another company where the gentleman is operating as a COO of the company. It's an international company, and he comes to work every day and works out of a cubicle. Nobody else there knows because he's on Zoom. They could care less, what his office looks like because he's got a background, but it's very interesting that with the shared economy idea, we've been able to actually reroute the financial resources to other things. Think about it. We have Lyft and Uber and some other, opportunities for sharing, DoorDash, Uber Eats, Uber Freight. Here's a opportunity for multiple people to use, just a fleet of trucks that they can gain access to without them having to pay a rental fee or even a deposit. I mean, just so thinking about how you can gain access to many more things, it is a way for you to have an efficiency in your resource utilization. But then the collaborative consumption concept, customers are able to access products and services on a temporary basis through sharing platforms, just like what I talked about with the Uber Freight. We have a relationship with a couple of other companies, and we share resources through that company that when we need them, they're available. When we don't need them, somebody else can use them. And so having a concept that you don't have to own something in order for you to have access to them, these particular things, is a very it's a shift in mentality. Actually, it's a replacement in the mentality of having to have all of these things yourself. Think about what you're saving, okay? When you have heavy equipment that you might be needing to use in your particular business, but you don't have to have a place to store the inventory because it's not your inventory. You don't have to have insurance on that inventory yourself. You can pay for the insurance as you use the inventory rather than having to pay for an increased amount of insurance to, make sure that you're covering the inventory. Having the ability to only, take advantage of the inventory when you need it, okay, of these particular types of equipment, forklifts and, portable restrooms, okay, and all kinds of things that you might need to perform your job, and so the sharing economy, collaborative consumption model has been around a very long time, but we've now begun to see it being refined in a way where it makes it accessible to more people, and it makes it accessible at a lower price point. The barriers to entry in a business now can be totally manipulated by, access to, things through shared economies. So thinking about, the whole concept of this, sharing and how it can help you to build a stronger business is something that I want you to really put in the forefront of your mind at this point, because we've been talking about how do you do business better? How do you bootstrap? How do you get started faster? What if you didn't have to have all of the equipment, in your name? On your in your garage. What if you could start by using something that's already available through rental or through lease or through a collaborative community that you have access to? Peer-to-peer networks, another really good concept, where individuals directly connect and exchange goods and services, creating a decentralized marketplace. And so this is a very important concept because now you can take advantage of, having access to things that are not controlled by these larger monopolies, which drives the cost up. And that's something that I have really begun to see happen in recent years, that people are thinking more about how do we make this more accessible to the little guy? How do I have a more B2B relationship, by having access? We have a relationship with a company called McKinney Trucking, and when we would need certain types of trailers or anything like that with one of our company projects, we are able to go and get that and utilize it at a price point that is so far below other places in the market for the kind of equipment that we're getting. And it costs, sure, it might cost us less, if we were using it more often to have our own, but because we're not using it more often, we only need it for projects, and we don't really have a place that we own where we would be able to, have it stored. This is a very good model for us. Next slide, please. So what are the benefits of shared economies for business owners? Well, there are numerous advantages for businesses, including reduced costs, increased market reach, and then enhanced customer engagement. If you can actually provide the same service that a company that is 3 times your size provides, only because you're able to get access to the equipment or the resources that you can provide the services in your location, this makes it so that you have a better competitive advantage. Because if you're doing this in a way that is cheaper for the customer, there's more customization of what it is that they're able to do, or at least they feel like there is. If there's better relationships between you and the customer, because you don't have so many people to serve, you might be able to pull away some of that market share from people in your same, industry that might be in the same neighborhood, based on the fact that you have a different, unique value proposition or competitive edge than your, basic competitor. So, looking at what a shared economy could possibly do for you is going to be something that I say is key in looking, at how you can serve your customers better. And then you can have access to new markets. By collaborating with other businesses, you actually can expand your market reach, and it allows you to, do some cross promotion. Now, what does that mean for you to be able to do cross promotion? Well, if you are able to have other businesses that you are working with, you guys are collaborating on particular projects, you can provide the service you provide, they can provide the service they provide. And we talked about this a couple of days ago in one of the podcasts, where we were sharing about how, I can provide my services to a company. We do entity formations, and we prepare, documents for people. And we actually have, the ability to have web hosting, and they can purchase domains through us and get an app built out or a website. There are lots of things that a company might need when they're launching their business, and we provide a lot of those services. We have a living business plan process, so they can actually have a business plan that works with them and that can be with them for the life of their business. And we have a lot of these services. There are not many consulting firms or advisory services firms that offer those same types of services. But then we have other people who provide certain services that we don't offer. And so based on their ability to provide notary services, or they can also provide, we have one client that actually has a building where they have, people can come and rent their conference room, and so they have also the ability to provide services to our clients that might be more boutique services than what we have. And based on that, now I can promote to the clients that they have that don't have the services in place that we offer. They can promote to our clients that don't have what it is that they offer. And it's a win-win for everyone. So having access to new markets through collaboration is huge. Then, of course, having increased revenue streams. When you are sharing, in this way, you create new revenue opportunities for your company. And remember, we talked, a lot about the things that you need to do, the drivers of business value. And one of those is revenue performance. And you need to make sure that you are producing revenue in order for your company to stay afloat. Well, having the ability to have a shared platform, does give you the ability to serve people or serve more people, which increases your bottom line and your top line. Okay. And so, yes, it's going to increase the top line because, of course, it may cost you a little more to serve. But here's the thing. If you're able to have more people that you're serving, then you can get the cost of serving down because you may be able to have the resources allocated a different way. And so now you have more profit because of the fact that you were able to shave off more of the cost of doing business based on how you're providing the services and the fact that you have, these increased opportunities through collaboration. The other thing is you have an enhanced customer experience because shared economies foster collaboration and community. They make more educational opportunities available to your customers for them to learn more about the services that you have, and also services that are, I would say, complementary services that are available to them through their collaboration. And so you give, again, a view to them of a more personalized or customized connected commercial experience, and so that's a real big thing for a lot of people. They want to feel like they're getting more value out of the services that they're offered. Okay, next slide, please. So now, what are the challenges of shared communities? What is it that people have a problem with? Well, although the shared communities offer benefits, businesses need to address potential challenges such as trust, security, and regulatory compliance before they become a problem. So let me just say this. It's really important for you to vet your collaborator. And I know that this sounds, really funny, to be saying that you're going to actually do a background check on the company that you are going into a collaboration with. But I am telling you, it is your responsibility to your clients to make sure that the people that you are putting before them are people who are trustworthy, people who can do what they say they can do, and people who actually do it well. You don't want your clients to become experiments. Not a good thing. You want to be able to build trust between your business and the other business and the users of those services so that there is a secure and reliable platform that has been built. And so it's very important, very, very important that you do your due diligence and make sure that whoever it is that you are coming together with can really do what they say they can do. And so there's the trust and the security that you're offering, passing along to your clients when you're doing this. And the other thing, when you're thinking about this, regulatory compliance is big as well. Businesses have to adhere to regulations, of the different municipalities, of the governing bodies. And so there are some people that are, in a particular type of industry where there's regulatory compliance over the shared economy that you are going to be using. And so if that's the case, then it's your responsibility to get the information, okay? Make sure you are filling out the forms, that you stay in compliance, that if there is something that you're supposed to have, some certificate, some license, some permit, get the license, the permit, so that you can have what's supposed to be had in order for you to provide this service in a way that is legal, okay, and compliant. The other thing is you want to also be looking at the privacy and the safety for your customer. If your customer is in a situation where you're providing them with an opportunity for collaboration that you created, you need to also make sure that data security is there, that their personal there's personal protections for their personal information. You know, the way client information is handled is done in a way that is also compliant with the law and with the best practices. And so do the research, find out what the best practices are for the particular services that you're going to be collaborating to provide, you know, so that you can make sure that everything is being done above board. Then competition and differentiation. You have to be able to differentiate yourself in a crowded market. There are many, many people doing business these days. You might have heard me say this the other day on the podcast, where there are more than 500,000 people, you know, well, more than 500,000 businesses were started in the middle of the pandemic. Since the pandemic, we have that many more businesses out here in the entrepreneurial landscape, which is great. However, there may be more businesses in your industry than there were before. And so for that reason, you got to be able to differentiate yourself in this crowded market. And you got to offer unique value propositions and compelling offerings so people will choose you. We talked yesterday in our business Smarter Start Bootcamp. You got to watch that episode, because in that episode, we talked about one key thing that you can do, you know, as we got further into the podcast, that you can make a decision to choose a service or a higher ticket service offering that is actually going to make sure that you win. You choose something that actually has a bigger margin, okay? You choose something where you're going to make more money with less work, okay? And so I want you to go back and watch that video, because I think that it's really important that you gain that knowledge. That's some new knowledge for a lot of people. They don't know that you can add certain services and you don't have to necessarily work as hard to provide those services, but they're going to add a revenue stream that could change the trajectory of your business forever, you know, and make it way more valuable, and especially more valuable in a sale. So that's something for you to think about. Go watch the video. It's really important that you see it. Okay, next slide, please. So what are some examples of successful shared economies? So I mentioned, you know, Uber before, but I want to just kind of, you know, run down these different models. I have 3 case studies here. You know, I'm big on case studies. I love case studies. And so we learn a lot by looking at what's being done. Okay. And we learn a lot by seeing, you know, living vicariously through somebody else's mistakes, so we don't have to do it, you know, make those same mistakes over again. So let's look at some of these successful models and see, you know, where we can find something that we can pull out of these models for ourselves. One of the models that I have here is one that I'm particularly fond of, and that's Airbnb. Why am I so fond of Airbnb? Because it was like a really, oh man, I could have done that. You know, I could have thought of that. I mean, it's one of those ideas where it's not so different than something that people were already doing, except someone created a way to manage it all. And that's the thing that makes me really fond of Airbnb. It's in the accommodation or hospitality industry, and it really provides short-term lodging rentals from individuals. And that is so broad. I mean, it goes from people who are providing rooms in the homes that they live, that they are putting on Airbnb, so someone from the outside can come and stay in the house while you're staying there and just live in your unused space for a night or 2 or 30 days, okay? You know, 14 days, I think is what the customary limit is for, you know, Airbnb. But there are some other models beside Airbnb that do allow for short-term rentals for up to 30 days. And so that's pretty cool that you can actually stay somewhere for a lot less than what it costs, you know, at a hotel, and have a more comfortable space, sometimes even you know, an experience almost like a hostel or a bed and breakfast, because maybe, you know, you get meals, with your Airbnb. And that does happen in some spaces. And then there's Uber, okay, which is in the transportation industry, connects passengers with drivers for ride hailing services. And this is a really brilliant model in that the people who are driving own their own businesses. They don't work as W-2 employees for the company. And so therefore they're using their vehicles or vehicles that they're renting through the company or leasing through the company. And they now in their extra time, some of them are in time that some people are driving full time. They've created a business that can be quite sustainable. And, thinking about for people who may only drive 4 hours a day, I met someone who's running a company, but because of the fact that, during the seasonal times, their company is not doing extremely well because of the kind of work that they do in their company. So they drive for Uber in their downtime, during those seasons where they are not really selling as much to their customers. They actually are they're replacing their income plus some by driving in those busy times, where their company might not have as many customers. So you see this now happening quite a bit. And again, I mentioned Uber Eats and I mentioned Uber, the Uber Freight. There are several ways that this particular service is being provided. Etsy is another one. E-commerce. I'm a fan of e-commerce as well. Some people know about Pinterest, and they've begun to do work with Ecwid and some of these other types of e-commerce sites, Shopify, where there's a platform and you put your goods on there, and basically sellers are connected with you through that platform. You don't have to have your own website. You don't have to have your own e-commerce account. You can use the ones that are provided through the platform. And by doing that, now you have ready buyers that are looking for the services that you might, or not the services, but the products that you have. And what they do is they go and they put the product into the system, and basically you pop up along with other people that might have the same type of product. But depending on how you are marketing and the way that you provide access to the services that are the products that you have, what ends up happening is people make a choice to use you over other people, based on them seeing what they believe they need to see to make that purchase. Okay. And so that's really important when you have platforms that are already available for you to provide your shared opportunities. It makes it easier for you to do it. So we know of, like I said, Airbnb, Uber, Etsy, Ecwid, Shopify. There's several of the t-shirt print and ship type companies where, they provide the platform. People go and see what you have available in your little store, and they make a decision to buy. And the information that they have is that they're buying from you. But really what's happening is they're buying what's available in your account, but it's really being provided through, another company that's drop shipping it to them. So there's lots of ways that this can be done. And I would say this, pay attention to, some of the websites that you go to. You go on Walmart.com. Walmart.com is doing the same thing. Amazon has, they used to be called A stores. They're now just reseller accounts with Amazon. GoDaddy does it for domains and hosting through their Wild West Domains platform. There are so many of these platforms out there, guys, and you could take advantage of some of that. It could be extra money for you, when you start thinking about how you can use the shared economy models. Turo is another one. Okay, I almost forgot about Turo, but you might have a vehicle that's not being fully used. Putting it on Turo gives you an opportunity to have your car driven for a price that gives you, the ability to make money every day or a few hours a day, with a vehicle that could be sitting up in your, garage at other times. And so these are options. These are options for using the shared economy model. Next slide, please. So how do you collaborate with other businesses? Well, First of all, let's talk about the fact that when you collaborate with other businesses, you create synergistic opportunities, expanding your reach and opening new avenues for growth. And we talked about, what collaborations can do for you. Well, but how do you do it? So we want to give you just like a 3-step way of doing it. And the first thing is you got to identify who your ideal partners are. Search for businesses that align with your goals and your target audience, and that might be offering similar complementary services to the services that you're offering. I talk a lot about insurance companies partnering with CPAs. Okay, that is a very, very good fit because CPAs have clients that are looking for insurance, and insurance brokers and agents have clients that are looking for a person to manage their books, and so it's a win-win. Looking at other complementary type services in your industry could be huge. And again, I would suggest that you go and do some research online to find out how you can make some of these things happen. How can you establish partnerships? How do you formalize your agreements, outline the roles that you're going to play, each of you, and how do you decide what responsibilities everybody's going to have and what your benefits are going to be for doing these particular things. What is it that you're going to get? What is it that I'm going to get? And what will the customers get? Those are, the ways that you want to establish things. And when you put together your partnership agreement, you want to understand, what makes you a partner, how you both are, if it's more than you both, and there's 3 or 4 or 5 people, how people come together to become a partner. Is this a buy-in? Is this a sweat equity kind of deal? What is it? Then once you have that partnership kind of solidified, how do we break up if somebody can't do it anymore? If they, become too ill to do it, or their business takes off in a way that they didn't expect, how do we in the partnership, in the collaboration, how many days do I have to give you of continuing to provide the service before I'm no longer able to provide the service? Is that 20 days? Is that 120 days? Is that, what is it? And so those are things that you want to be looking at, in your collaboration. And then how do you promote the collaboration? You got to be able to leverage the cross promotion. What's in it for me? What's in it for you? What do I need to offer your clients, and what are you going to offer my clients? Okay. What are the marketing initiatives that you're going to have to reach a wider audience? How will we together go after a much wider audience with our offerings, when we are doing this collaboration? Is that going to be on YouTube? Is it going to be on TikTok? Where is it going to be? Are we actually sending, emails out? Or are we, how are we really doing this thing? And what is going to make it something that makes sense for us in the long run? Next slide, please. Now, let's really talk about the power of partnerships. I love this puzzle piece mentality here, that we're looking at, because the thing is that we want to be able to put something together that actually does make sense. And so sometimes I'll have pieces of the puzzle, you'll have pieces of the puzzle, but we may have to create some other pieces to make sure that our pieces fit together. But when we put it all together, we've got a beautiful, picture here that can really serve people well. So strategic partnerships can unlock a lot of new opportunities. And when you allow businesses to come together in that way, they can leverage each other's strengths and the resources. I remember, and I've shared this on our nonprofit day when we talked about nonprofit, opportunities, that I put together 10 organizations, and we went after a grant, and we were able to get, $1.7 million because of all of the people who were on the team. We had history, we had expertise, we had equipment. Okay, we had vehicles, we had a lot of office space, and so every piece was needed for the collaboration to be able to get the grant, was there. And we were able to outshine people who have been doing some of the same services for years, because of the fact that we had all of the pieces that were needed to be able to make sure that we could serve, the grant the way that we have been requested. So you're looking at market expansion. You want to become collaborating with complementary businesses and expand market reach and create cross-selling opportunities. That's really the goal. And as you're looking at it from that perspective, it really does help you to make sure that everything is working at the level that it should. And then knowledge sharing. Partnerships provide opportunities for knowledge transfer, innovation, and growth. That is really, really important, because when you are in a situation where the collaboration does what it needs to do for everyone with regards to offering the services, but then nobody is really growing. None of the companies are really becoming, more informed about how to serve better. It's not giving everything that the collaboration could give. So partnerships need to provide opportunities for that knowledge transfer. Hey, we do this and we do it this way. Opening up your books is one thing, but actually opening up the services so that people can see how it's done, and not being so fearful about, well, they could just take it and start doing it themselves. Yeah, they could. But if you do your vetting on the front end and you all are working well together and it's a win-win-win for everybody, then it's less likely that something like that will happen. Okay. Sometimes you have to take the risk of, someone stealing your idea per se, for you to be able to, really get seated in a good opportunity. I can tell you this, most of the time, whenever someone has thought they were stealing my idea, it never worked out for them the way they thought. And not only that, but generally when I had a partnership, or I should say a collaboration, I can only talk about maybe one time in my entire life where something that was put together as a collaboration ended in a competitor or someone raising up to be my competitor. It only happened once. And that's because I learned so much in that one opportunity that it was less likely that someone would try that again, because we were, so much on the same page of trying to help each other's companies grow, that we didn't end up in a situation like that. We all were trying to innovate and we all were trying to grow. And so for that reason, the knowledge sharing really did work well, and it helped us to, create seamless opportunities. And then enhanced brand visibility. This is huge, because when you can join your marketing efforts with someone else that's trying to do the same thing, but maybe just a little different flavor, it gives you that concept of being able to, reach new audiences. Okay. And so, you're actually out there in a way that where people are going to supply their customers with your information. You get their mailing list. They get your mailing list, their emailing list, your emailing list. And now you can go at, or for that matter, even, being available on each other's Instagram platforms. It gives you this huge opportunity to maybe in 1 week, double or even triple your reach. I remember when my husband and I began doing business together before we, of course, married our companies and then married ourselves. We actually had opportunities to do that for each other. I had like almost 5,000, Facebook people when Facebook friends when we met, and he had a wonderful concept that he was just really getting going in his community. And so I asked him to share the information with me, and I shared it with all of my Facebook friends. Now, here's the thing. This is back when Facebook didn't have the algorithms that it has now. And when I sent it out to everybody actually got it. So when they all got it, what happened is that people started, becoming his friend, and they wanted to have access to his concept of success thoughts. And it was just an amazing opportunity, because just in a few weeks, he had grown quite a bit in the amount of friends that he now had. And not only that, but, I had actually utilized, and at the time I wasn't even thinking what it was doing for me. I was just thinking that, man, he has something great. I want everybody who, is my friend to get access to this, not knowing that by doing that, it actually did increase or improve my reach. And there was one more thing that I was able to offer the people who were following me, in what I was doing on Facebook at the time, in my groups and on my page. So I just want to share that it's very important for you to be thinking about the fact that you can gain a whole new audience by collaborating. There is a tremendous power in partnership. Next slide, please. So how do we leverage shared resources? How do we leverage them? Well, the first thing we want to do is, when we're talking about leveraging, shared resources like the co-working space, equipment rentals, or online platforms, we got to understand what it really does. Well, it reduces costs and improves efficiency. It makes flexible workspaces available. It gives us networking opportunities because of having so many different people, in the space that are doing different things, so now we can all serve each other's businesses or use our resources to go out and serve other people together. And these are cost-effective solutions. Just by having the networking opportunity itself, it's really a cost-effective way for you to get to a particular community that you may not have had access to before. Then, on the equipment rentals, you could rent specialized equipment instead of purchasing, which is going to reduce your costs, and it saves you, also in reducing the storage costs of these particular items, as we spoke of earlier. And then with like online platforms like, Airbnb and Uber and DoorDash and some of these other Instacart, you're able to utilize the platform to collaborate and for project management or management of the actual services being offered, and knowledge sharing. Because let me tell you, there's so much data to get. I just sat there and looked inside of Instacart for a day because, I'm big on data, guys. I love writing case studies and reading case studies and things of that nature. I get pulled in a lot for that particular type of resource. And so when I was inside of Instacart, I was able to see something that I had never seen before in that ecosystem. And it gave me a whole different idea about something that could be offered in a business sense, by having a centralized place where people can go to order certain types of services and resources, having those things available, in a way where it makes it easy for them to, compare pricing, easy for them to see, what the different services are that they can take advantage of. And so I want to tell you that when I did that, it gave me an idea of how we could create something very similar within our own program. And so we went out and we thought we were going to build it ourselves, but instead we didn't have to, because there was another company that was white labeling something like that, and we took advantage of it. And so now we have the Red Member Business Exchange because of what we were able to see that was being done in another company's online platform. So I'm saying that some of these things may already exist. You just may be able to jump right in and take advantage of what's available. Next slide, please. So what are the trends? Well, the trends in shared economy, they continue to evolve. There are some emerging trends like sustainable practices, digital marketplaces, and the gig economy. And so let's kind of take a look at all three of those. Sustainability. The shared economies promote sustainable consumption. Nothing is being wasted. Good resource management, reducing, the waste and environmental impact overall. And then when we look at the digital marketplaces, online platforms are facilitating that peer-to-peer transaction, enabling access to a wider range of goods and services for your customers and your potential customers. And then, of course, the gig economy for people who are freelancing or independent contractors, people who are working as solopreneurs, they're able to contribute to the shared economy by offering specialized services, and then they can foster some of the collaborations that we've talked about earlier. Next slide, please. So what are our conclusions and takeaways today? Well, shared economies offer significant opportunities for businesses to thrive. We've talked about this. We've talked about this. The way you build a valuable business is by creating the ability for your business to, operate a certain way according to the 8 drivers of business value. And one of the things is your company needs to be able to thrive without you. Even though you might have been the person who came up with the idea, you should not be the person that has to be the end all and be all in your entire company, because it makes your company less valuable when you do so. And so when you are able to use a shared economy concept, you can actually have a way of making your company thrive. It gives you the ability to embrace collaboration, leverage shared resources, when you're able to stay informed, about all of the kinds of things that emerge. Because sometimes collaborative opportunities come up and you don't even know that they're coming, and you're able to find something that may be a solution for other people. We do it all the time at Red. Sometimes I'll see something and then I'll, send out a quick message to our community and say, hey guys, anybody in this industry doing this, guess what? You're now able to take advantage of this particular thing and offer that, to your clients at a discount, by just letting them know you're a Red member. And we do that because we want people to understand, that these things are available. Collaboration is key. In strategic partnerships and collaborations create more opportunities for growth and success, newer opportunities, okay, than what may have been available before. Shared resources benefit businesses. When you have co-working spaces, equipment rentals, and some of these other opportunities that we talked about, it gives you the ability to reduce costs and enhance your efficiency. And then lastly, you are able to, if you're able to embrace the future of sharing by staying informed about emerging trends and adapting your business as you go, then you can capitalize on the shared economy to really maximize the value in your company. Well, this has been Dr. Patience Jackson Rose with Co-working Live with Red Worldwide, and we're so excited that you've been able to join with us today and learn about these collaborative opportunities and ways that you can build a better business, a legacy business that makes your company something that you want to pass down or that you can sell and get a tremendous, amount for. Something that gives you what you deserve and desire from the amount of effort that you put in. And we just want to make sure that you know that we're here for you. You can always set an appointment, by going to scheduleme.red. If you need to, we're here to help you make some of these decisions and to see how you can build better businesses. And we will see you again next time.